This is the BBC.
This podcast is supported by advertising outside the UK.
Everyone likes shopping online, but searching for coupon codes is kinda a bummer. So make saving online a breeze with Capital One Shopping. Capital One Shopping is a free tool that instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Just download Capital One Shopping to your computer and let it do the work for you. So easy, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. Capital One Shopping. It's kinda genius. What's in your wallet? Savings and available coupons vary.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
This is the Daily Euros with Steve Crossman.
Hi there, welcome to the Daily Euros. This is your big England versus Scotland preview. Of course, we're bringing you full commentary at 8 p.m, live from Wembley Stadium. We'll take you to London shortly to speak to a member of the Tartan Army, one of the thousands of fans who've made the trip and already started to take over the capital. We will have some Gareth Southgate, Steve Clarke, Harry Kane, Scott McTominay. They are all on the pod. Alan Hutton, Erin Cuthbert and Rob Green are going to join us a little bit later as we get stuck into the game and inevitably fly off on all kinds of tangents. First up with us, we've got Micah Richards and Jack Wilshere, two former England internationals. Hello, guys.
Evening,
Steve. How are you?
I'm all right. How are we doing? All good?
All good. I'm excited.
Yeah, all good.
I'm excited.
Micah,
great to be working with you again, Steve.
Mike has always got a look on his face. I don't know if he was like this when you played with him as well, but there's always a mischief there.
I just enjoy my job.
You know what? Every time I turn my TV on now, I see him. So I see more than him than I did back then.
You see, he already knows where your soft targets are, Micah. That's the key thing.
Well, I don't mind the soft target. Keep them coming. I'm a team player. I'll take the shots for the team.
Look, we've already previewed this game in a couple of different ways, and I'm sure we'll do it in a couple of different more before kickoff. But for the next 20 minutes, we just want to mine you two about the topic of expectation. And it's something you two know plenty about because obviously, Micah, you were both 18 when you burst onto the England scene.
Yeah, the expectation is what it is when you put on that England shirt. You expect you're among the best in England, and we've always produced great players. I wouldn't necessarily say great teams, but great players. So when you put on an England shirt, it comes with a lot of pressure. I think, with the likes of Lampard and Gerrard and Ashley Cole, Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, Owen, them players, we should have won something. I was fortunate enough to be in a squad with them. But back then, the pressure from the fans, from the media, from the players themselves as well, it was just too much at times. I think the difference now with this, especially in the World Cup, there was sort of underdogs. It didn't seem like there was that much pressure on them. And, what Gareth Southgate has done to sort of just make it about the team rather than individuals. And I think that's the great thing about England now, even though there still is pressure. But I like the fact that we've become more of a team now.
Mm. When you think about those days, Jack, the days that Micah are talking about, did it feel heavy? Did the England shirt feel heavy when you put it on?
I wouldn't say it felt heavy because it was a dream for me, coming through all the youth teams of England and finally getting my chance in the first team. But it's funny that Mika mentioned that because I wouldn't say that expectation went until it was after the World Cup in Brazil. We failed to get out of the group. We had a bad tournament. And after that tournament, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, they retired. And I remember the first game, it was a European qualifier after that away in Switzerland. And everyone had sort of written off. And we had a new formation, new players in midfield. I was playing a new role. And we went out and we performed really well. And then we sort of started building from that. But yeah, England as a nation should have done better with the players we produced, as Mika said, and we haven't. And Gareth has come into the job, and I spoke about this before. He's changed the whole philosophy. He sort of got all the fans back on side, back behind the team, and this tournament will probably be the first time where they're expected to maybe not win it, but get a little bit further than they have in previous tournaments.
Do you think previous England teams, Micah, have been a bit more fearful in some ways? And that's not a criticism of then, really. I think it's more the kind of atmosphere that has surrounded it that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a good question, Steve. I think when I was under Capello, the atmosphere in the camp wasn't a good one at all, because it was almost like we all know what Capello could do, because he'd been a great coach before he got to England. But it was almost like you couldn't go there and express yourself. You sort of be pigeonholed, and you go there and you've got to be, in your rooms at a certain time. It just feels like, if you look at the environment now, like you've seen some of the videos that have come off with Five Live, with the players coming out and singing and, showing their true personality. And that's what it's about. It's about expressing yourself. We live in a society now where people want to see more of what because if you're a fan, you want to be able to relate to these players. And now the environment there, it just epitomizes that 100%. So it's going to be tough, in terms of how far they can go. If they was to, top the group, it could be France, Germany, one of them teams, and that could be Portugal as well. That could be difficult. But in terms of expectation levels, I think just go with it. Just roll with it. See where it goes. The whole nation is behind this squad now, and you can feel it. Even just the way the journalists are writing articles and all that. It's almost like beforehand, they're setting people up to fail. It's almost like we're all together, and that's why I think England have got a way better chance now than, say, 10 years ago.
Jack, did the attitude of the head coach to allow the skillful players to go and take risks, like we know Gareth Southgate is big on players being able to take risks, did that exist when you were playing for England?
Yeah, it did. I was in a few squads with Capello as well, but I was a young player. I was an 18-year-old going into a dressing room of players who I've watched growing up, my heroes. So I wasn't going to express myself the way I wanted to, because I was just trying to prove to everyone that I was good enough to be there. And then obviously Roy came in, and it was a completely different atmosphere. I think the fact that he was English helped. He understood us a little bit better. He gave us a little bit more leeway in terms of off the pitch, and we can spend time with our families. But I think as a player, and I'm talking from past experiences, and I'm not just talking about international level, I think international level, the pressure goes up a bit. But I think you're always playing with pressure. You're always playing with fear. There's always that question mark in your head of, if I don't have a bad game, if I have a bad game, what's going to happen? Will I be out of the team? And I think it's also about the individual and how you can manage that and deal with that. And of course, it helps when a manager is letting you do more of the stuff that has got you there, if you like. Because sometimes, when I went away with England, it was completely a different atmosphere, tactically, mentally, and you weren't used to these things on a weekly basis, and you had to change. And I think one thing that Gareth's done is tried to bring that all together, all the stuff that you do well for your clubs, that you can do that, you can play that way, and that's why we're starting to see a better England team, I feel. What
was your hardest game in terms of pressure, Jack? I'd like to know that, because I know you played in a lot of big games, but which is the one that you felt the most pressure going into?
Do you mean with England?
With England or club?
Probably heading into the World Cup in 2014. The World Cup before was 2010. I was a fan watching it, and obviously we lost to Germany, and there was a big expectation from us to get further. And as the tournament went on and we lost the first game, we prepared like mad for the first game. We went away. We played our first game in Manaus, which was like mad conditions, and we prepared everything for that game. We trained in bin bags, in coats and everything, getting ready for that game. And yeah, crazy. And it was sort of, the mentality was like, right, let's not lose this first game. And then we lose the first game to a good Italy team, and then obviously the pressure's building going into the second game, and then we lost that one. Stevie G made an error, and Suarez went in, and you could just feel like these players had been through that before, and it was like a deflation throughout the whole camp. And it just felt like that was a turning point for me, where the pressure got so high that it couldn't get any higher. Like Gerrard retired, Lampard retired. We were going into these Euro qualifiers with not much expectation really, and we could almost build again from the beginning. And you could feel that through the camp, through the manager, through the coaching staff, and we went on to have a really good qualifying campaign really. And obviously we went to France and failed again. But yeah, I think that the World Cup 2014 was where the pressure really boiled up.
Yeah, something I've always wanted to ask you, Jack, and it's really pertinent now because of the fact that it's England-Scotland, and you can't think of England-Scotland without Paul Gascoigne, obviously. And at the moment, only partially because of his interesting new haircut, everybody is looking at Phil Food and you say, next Gascoigne player that we've had is closest to Gascoigne. You had that as well. So I wonder what that is like to carry when you're a young player.
You know what, it's frustrating for me because I just used to always play, and I love playing for my country, and every time I sort of got a run of games together, I got injured, and then it was back to the start, back to the battle of, right, you need to get into your club team, you need to perform well for your club, then you get in the England squad, then you got to work your way back into that team. So it was frustrating because I felt like I never really had not the opportunity, because I did, because Roy Hodgson was great with me, even when I probably shouldn't have been selected for the national team. He selected me because he trusted me. But yeah, I mean, listen, Gazza for me is the best player to ever put on an England shirt, and to be mentioned in that category, not just for me but for my family. My family grew up watching him, was special, but at the same time was frustrating because I never really had the opportunity to show everyone what I could do.
Do you get really frustrated though, Jack? Because I played with you, and I always say, sort of making that reference, I always try to downplay Foden a little bit because I know the injuries is tough. I've been through it, you've been through it, and you genuinely was one of the best young players I played with. I say it on my punditry or whenever I'm speaking, but to not be able, because your body's let you down, how much does that frustrate you that you couldn't become the player that everyone knew you could be if you stayed injury-free?
Yeah, I think the most frustrating thing is that people don't see the battle. Like you said, you've been through it. And it's not just physically, because you are up against it physically, because you're coming back and the game's changing the whole time. It's getting quicker. Younger players are coming in, they want to take your position. But mentally, I think is the toughest, because I knew that I could go on and I could play for England and get 100 caps, and I knew that I had the ability to do that. But as you said, my body was letting me down. It was tough to deal with, and when you came back as well and you weren't quite ready for it, like I remember in Euro 2016, I came back after about 6 or 7 months out, and I was pushing to start. And I remember Roy Hodgson saying to me that I'm not going to be in the starting 11 the first game, and I felt like I was so close. Even if I had a 3-month injury, but every time I got injured, it seemed to go on and on and on, and I was battling against it. And then little setbacks like that would bring you back mentally, and it was tough to come back from. But that's part and parcel of the game. And you see these young players now, and touchwood, likes of Foden and Grealish, and all these players don't go through that, and they can go on and have great England careers and show us all what they can do.
Jack Wilshere and Micah Richards with us. Really, really interesting. Of course, England versus Scotland. We are bringing it to you live, full commentary from Wembley Stadium. Now we're going inside England. Our correspondent John Murray has been speaking to Gareth Southgate.
Does what happened in the first matches actually change anything going into this match? The fact that you won and the fact that Scotland lost?
Well, difficult to say how it's affected mentality and preparation and how people feel. Reality is that this is in some parts a unique game anyway, and I think the outcome of the last matches is not important in terms of the outcome of this game. That's going to depend on playing well on the night. So the consequences of not winning are different for both teams, but we've just focused on preparing this game as we would for any other, looking at the tactical problems that Scotland pose and the tactical problems that we've got to solve to try and break them down.
Does Hampden in 2017 illustrate, demonstrate the kind of thing that can happen in these sort of matches?
Of course, in any game of football, the opponent can find moments of real quality, or could, score a bobbly goal that goes in and makes life, really difficult for you. So you've always got to prepare as a team for the possibility you could go behind in any game and how you're going to respond to that. I think what we learned that day was that, that was one of the first steps forward for this team in terms of showing resilience and staying calm in a moment of pressure where we'd suddenly gone from being in no danger at 1-0 up to 2-1 behind and looking like we were going to leave with a defeat. So we definitely took a lot in terms of spirit and belief from that game, and others that we've had more recently where we've conceded and had to come back to either go on to win or to draw.
And give us a bit of an insight into, what is genuinely a special occasion, isn't it? I mean, this match, for people in England and Scotland, this is one of the sporting highlights of the year. I'm sitting in central London and I've been listening all afternoon to Scotland fans singing songs outside the window. This is only the second time that England and Scotland have played each other at a major tournament. Now, do you play on that? Do you use that? Or do you completely park it?
We have to be aware of it because you have to be ready for the opponent and the additional motivation that might exist with this sort of occasion. And we know what it means to our own supporters. But we also have to be careful not to overplay that. We've got to go in the right sort of mindset to be able to play and perform to our best. And if you're over emotional going into any game, then that's not the performance state you want to be in. So we've prepared as we do for any big match. We'll know if we've got that balance right at the start tomorrow. And then events that unfold within the game are the things that will determine the outcome and how we respond to those events. So it's really, of course, hugely exciting for everybody. But we had a very big match on Sunday, and this is the next big game in what we're hoping will be 7.
Let's get a Scotland perspective. Nobody better to hear from than the head coach. Here's Steve Clarke.
Players have to believe in themselves. That's the first criteria. A lot of them are teammates with some of the lads in the England squad as well. So used to seeing them on the pitch, used to seeing each other playing big games. So it's a game that the players all want to play in. What we have to do is make sure that we're prepared properly for it. In terms of team talk, the team talk really is to go through the tactical side of the game, the organisational side of the game. The actual nuts and bolts of getting players up for the match is going to be really easy because we know it's a big game. We know we need to get something from the game, and that's what we aim to do.
You'll have obviously watched the England game from Sunday, and they started the game very well, came out all guns blazing and should have probably been up. I guess you will expect a similar start from them, and how do you hope to try and contain that and impose your own authority on the game?
We hope to start just as quick as England do. We'll go out there, we'll try and get on the front foot as early as possible, we'll try and get a hold of the ball. Players will try and make themselves feel comfortable on the pitch, on the stage, and if we can get off to a quick start, that'll be good for us.
That's Steve Clarke. We've got Micah Richards and Jack Wilshere with us. Let's bring in Ailey Barber as well, who spent the week in the Scotland camp. Hi, Ailey.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. How is Scotland doing?
They're good, actually. They're good. It was obviously hugely disappointing on Monday to open the way they did, but they went straight back down to their base just outside Darlington. I joined them the next day, had a chat with Steve Clarke, had a chat with Jack Henry yesterday, and there just seems to be still a pretty solid belief amongst them that they can still do enough. There's 2 games left. There's 6 points up for grab. They are massive underdogs, certainly tomorrow and against Croatia, really, and they just have to try and find a way to turn around that defeat in the opening game against the Czechs and try and get themselves out of this group and make that history that they came here and set out to do.
The big question is about Kieran Tierney. Can we bring Scotland fans a big answer?
We have been told that he is fit to start, Kieran Tierney. Whether he will start, that is obviously still a question mark. How fit he is, we saw him wandering around yesterday. He was wearing compression tights. It's a calf injury, so it is one that they will have to manage. But he is fit to start, Steve Clarke has confirmed. So he may well come in to that left side of the back 3, and we know how dangerous he can be on that left-hand side. Andy Robertson was phenomenal, I thought, on Monday against the Czechs. And if he's got Kieran Tierney inside him, it adds just that little bit extra. So will he start? We're not sure, but he is fit, we've been told.
Micah, that's an absolutely massive boost for Scotland to have Robertson and Tierney.
Massive. Two, I'd say Robertson's world class now for what he's done over the last couple of seasons, and Tierney's he's on the way. He got a couple of injuries at the wrong time, but he's Arsenal's, when he's been fit, he's one of been Arsenal's best players, along with Saka and Smith Rowe. It's all the youngsters at Arsenal, but it's an absolute massive boost. I absolutely love watching him because his heart and desire. Even when it's like a 60-40, he still goes for it. He's got energy, and it's an absolute massive boost for Scotland. And we want Scotland to have the best players because we want to see the best possible game we can see. And I think he's a cracking player, I really do.
You know, Ailey, for like the last 15, 20 minutes, we've been talking about expectation, mostly, with reference to England. From the Scottish perspective, when you see the players and you spend time around them, do they seem like a group of players under a lot of pressure or under the burden of expectation, or the opposite of that?
No, they don't. The expectation from Scotland has to be to qualify. We have now qualified for the first time in 23 years. And yes, once you get somewhere and you get into the tournament, the expectation is you want something magical to happen. No Scotland team has ever gone beyond the group stages in a major championship. So this is not something that should ever be just expected the first time back. Oh, we go into a group. You've got England, you've got Croatia, and you've got the Czech Republic, who we saw on Monday are also a very, very strong side. So there shouldn't really be an expectation to go out of this group, but we know that third place option is available, which just puts that little extra bit of hope. We can get that best place, third place, and be in that last 16. So the hope is still there. Whether the expectation is quite as strong as it was ahead before Monday's game, I'm not 100% sure. But I'm down at Wembley right now, and I have to say, the kilted tartan army that have been wandering around Wembley, they believe anything is possible right now, and they will believe that tomorrow, right up until that final whistle.
Can they do it? Can they do it, Ailey, though? What are your expectations, your personal expectations? Can they do it or not?
So 2021 has been quite an incredible year of sport from my personal point of view. They qualified, obviously, the end of last year, so that already was incredible. Then Scotland went down to Twickenham and won in the Six Nations, completely not expected by anybody outside of the Scotland camp. Then the team that I grew up supporting as a youngster, St Johnstone, went and won a cup double. Should never happen by a team outside of Celtic and Rangers, and hasn't done for a very long time. So right now, I believe anything's possible. And if you want to take something from 5 years ago, you just need to look at that Iceland side. I'm sorry to bring that back up again, but it just shows what is possible in 90 minutes.
Well, he wasn't sorry because he brought it up.
I know, I'm sorry. I had to. No, there has to be a belief, because otherwise, if you're a fan of football and of a particular club or nation, you always believe, don't you?
Ailey, thank you very much. That's Ailey Barber, who's in the Scotland camp. Big thank you to Micah Richards and to Jack Wilshere too. Now we can bring in the former England keeper, Rob Green. Hiya, Rob.
I can hear you. Can you
hear me?
Thank
goodness for that. Yes, I can.
Oh, that's a relief. Well.
I was concerned because if we couldn't get you up, this would have been very, very one-sided. Because you're super outnumbered, aren't you?
I'm fighting the English corner here, yeah.
Because also with us, we've got the former Scotland fullback, Alan Hutton. Hello, mate.
Nice talking to you again.
Yeah, you too. And we've also got the current Chelsea and Scotland forward, Erin Cuthbert. Hello, Erin.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I love that you've turned up in a Scotland shirt for radio, by the way.
Oh, come on, you wouldn't expect anything less. Come on.
Well, I would have. I mean, that is a fair point, although Alan obviously hasn't followed suit.
No, come on. Yeah, I didn't get the memo. Didn't understand that it was Scotland strip night, or I would have.
It's Scotland strip night every night.
See, Scotland's in town.
Yeah, well, I can tell you've obviously got the vibe going already, Erin.
Oh, of course. I'm not going to lose it.
I saw on your Twitter, actually, the other day, just before the tournament started, because this is your first major tournament, like, for Scotland, isn't it? For you, because you won't remember Euro 96 or any of that.
No, I wasn't born the last time Scotland men's team have made a major tournament, so it's a pretty big deal for me.
That makes me feel old. now that I obviously remember it. I think I was about 12 at the time. But I'm excited as if it's like Christmas tomorrow. Seeing all the Instagram posts, all the videos, all the Tartan Army down in Leicester Square taking over. That's just what the Tartan Army do. So I'm sure the boys will be right up for this one. Looking forward to the starting whistle.
Yeah. What are you expecting, Erin? You're going, aren't you?
Yes, I will be there. I'm one of the lucky few to get a ticket, but I'm expecting a bit of high energy, to be honest. I think the Czech Republic game, the first 10 minutes started really, really positively, so I'm expecting no different, and I think we can't really sit back for 90 minutes. It's not sustainable with the players that England have got. I think eventually they're going to break us down, so I think we do need to really be defensively robust, but I think we need to take the game to England a bit.
Did you basically have it looks a bit like a fancy dress party ahead of the Euros? I'm trying to work out if that's what happened.
No, that the Twitter post was actually from a couple of years ago at David Luiz's birthday party, but we were actually all together as a national team watching the game because we had a friendly against Northern Ireland and Wales, so we were all in our match tops watching the game and on the big screens. You went face paint for that. Are you going face paint for this game? Absolutely, I've already bought it from Amazon. Have you? So full face, like full all blue with the white.
Braveheart. It needs to be Braveheart. That sums it up.
Well, I'm not going full face because I still need to get the train into London, but I've got wee Scotland flags. They're quite
just
subtle.
Do the half and half, the Braveheart one. People love it.
I know the one you're on about. No, Alan, I'm a wee bit more subtle tomorrow, but I'll still be in my full Scotland top, proud as punch.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get stuck into it. There's some really interesting quotes from Andy Robertson today, so I'm just going to read these out and then we can chat about them. He said, I think we are probably respected more now because we've qualified for a tournament, but we're still not as respected as we would like. A chance to play England is a chance to show people that doubt Scottish football what we can do. We gave them a tough game in 2017. We'll need the same performance levels as that night. That England game was the best atmosphere I've played in. I've never heard noise like that at Hampden when Lee Griffiths put in those free kicks. I've never heard the stadium go as quiet as when Harry Kane equalised. That idea of respect, Alan, I think is really interesting. And look, they clearly deserve a lot of respect. Is Andy Robertson right? Do they not get enough of it?
Possibly. I mean, you're always going to be seen as a small nation. Scotland, obviously, it's been a long time since we've actually got to a major tournament, so maybe that's where it's come from. But I think if you look at the team at the moment, there's a lot of players that are playing for big clubs down south, playing in big tournaments themselves. So I think they've shown everybody down there what they're capable of, what they can do. It's just about doing it on the big stage now. I think that's what it all boils down to. Obviously, the Czech Republic result wasn't great, so they're going to have to bounce back from that at Wembley and show everybody what they're made of.
I wonder, Aaron, if being disrespected is actually a good thing, in the sense that sometimes there's no better motivator than a chip on your shoulder.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think being the underdog actually plays in your favour if you've got a level of mental toughness that I think Steve Clarke's actually built up. And I was looking at the stats earlier, and England have won 48 games and Scotland have won 41, so there's not too much of a difference, and I was quite shocked at that stat, but I think the lads will use that. And I heard John McGinn saying that he'd heard the stat and was really, really surprised. So I think the guys will go in with a little bit of belief, and I think it's an old, the game against the old enemy. Everything goes out the window, form goes out the window. It's who performs best in the day and who wants it. And I think, as a Scotland player, you know what it means to be the underdog. We've got 5 million people. England have got 60 odd million people. We've always been the underdog, or the little brother, if you like. So, tomorrow's a chance to put that quote right.
Rob, have we got you back now?
I'm here, alive and well.
I think I know what happened. I think these two somehow interfered with your line.
Unplugged it. Yeah. Just keep it total Scotland. There's no England chat tonight.
As long as they don't unplug the team tomorrow, we'll be okay.
Yeah, let's hope for that.
Did you hear those Andy Robertson quotes on respect, Rob, or was that pre you?
No, I heard it loud and clear, and I just think it's a bit of talk within the group, and I don't think you've got any disrespect from an English perspective. As the guys were saying, they know these guys. They've played against these guys. They know the qualities. There's a lot of them, well, most of them in the Premier League and in the Championship. And so you know what they're going to come up against, and that the respect will be there. I think that with the international football as it is, the margins are so fine, as Aaron was saying, and it's having that quality, it's having that ability to use that fine margin and get the other side of that fine margin. And that's where, England are favourites, because they have that quality to exploit those fine margins.
I guess, Alan, what they have now that they didn't have before, and you just kind of alluded to it, is, it's not just that they've got more Premier League players. They have some star Premier League players.
Yeah, that's the difference from obviously my era to now. I mean, back when I was playing, the team more or less picked itself. Where now I think Scotland have got a bit of strength and depth for the first time in a long time. And everybody's pushing each other. I mean, you look at the likes of Billy Gilmore sitting on the side, raring to go, want to come in. You've got people pushing for jerseys, and I just don't think we've had that for ages now. So I think that's what's really going to spur them on. And hopefully Steve Clarke makes a couple of changes, because I think after the Czech Republic game, that's what needs to be done. If you want to progress, I mean, Czech Republic were clinical in the big moments, and I think that's obviously what we need if we're going to get a result.
What changes are you making, Alan?
Tierney comes in. I would personally play two up front. I think Dykes and Shea Adams have to play. And for me, the big problem area is the right-hand side. I think everybody knows that Scotland are going to attack down the left with Tierney and Robertson. I think you need to be able to change it up. They switch play well, but for me, there's not enough that comes down the right. So whether he goes for maybe Forrest, if he wants to try an attacking option, or Nathan Patterson. I know it's a big game to throw a youngster in, but he's done it for Rangers, so why can't he do it in the international scene?
Would you make changes, Erin?
Yeah, like Alan Hutton said, I think Tierney has to come into the squad. I think we saw, where it lacked against Czech Republic. We weren't going forward. We didn't really have any penetration or creativity. In the defensive third, we weren't breaking lines. We were just passing it amongst the back. So I think, Tierney's introduction will really add an extra dynamic up push. Also, John McGinn further forward, where we actually want him and need him on the pitch, dribbling at players. And I think, like Alan said, Shea Adams has to start. For me, the impact that he made in the second half was second to none. His energy, his injection of pace. He'll be playing well off Dykes' second balls and headers. But I think Dykes, if he plays tomorrow, has a big job against, the likes of Tyrone Mings and the aerial presence. He has to be keeping the ball up there for the team, especially if they're maybe backs against the wall for a little bit. So, like Alan's also said, I think Stephen O'Donnell, unsure if he's going to play. I thought he had a weak game against Czech Republic, where I expected him maybe to stand out more and have more of an attacking threat. But Nathan Patterson, he's done it on the European stage. Why can't he do it on the international stage?
See, the big thing for me is, obviously, Scotland, when they play one up front, they tend to go kind of long, bypass the midfield. I don't think you can do that against England. I think if you're going to play the ball to Dykes, you need somebody to play off him and hold it up. You're really just giving the ball back to England. If it's a nothing ball up front, it's just going to be wave after wave of attack. I don't think you can do that. That's why I make a case for the likes of Billy Gilmore, for him to get on the ball in the midfield, make things happen, to really stop England just coming attack. You need something. You need somebody to get the foot on the ball and play. And I think that's what was missing in the Czech Republic game. Yeah,
I would like to see McGinn, Billy Gilmore and McTominay midfield. I think that really would add an interesting dynamic to the Scotland team. I didn't think Armstrong had the legs, and like you say, Billy Gilmore will just link play between defence and attack, and he's able to get there. And I think Scotland will need a double pivot against England, because England have some incredible threats that we also equally have to be aware of.
Well, you've just given away Scotland's 11. Thank you very much.
Hey, don't worry about it. Don't you worry about it. I'm just about to phone Steve Clarke now. I done them. I got them thinking that was the team. You're playing the same team.
Right, we can hear from someone now who I think we can all agree is definitely going to start, and Erin just mentioned him, Scott McTominay. He says the Scotland team are going to come out fighting.
Obviously, there has to be belief, there has to be a confidence level that you can go to any team and play well against them, whether that's England at Wembley or a different nation in a different country. You always have to have that self-belief and that sort of level of arrogance where we can play, and we're more than suited to be on this stage, as we've proven with the journey that we've had to get here. We've had it tough, you know what I mean? It's not been easy, so to see us here, we have to enjoy the moment. That's perfect, but you have to go and play as well. And I feel like on Monday we was unfortunate in terms of the way that the result was. A freak goal which probably couldn't have come at a worse time during the game. Other than that, when you actually dissect the whole performance, it wasn't so bad. So yeah, we can take a lot of positives from Monday and obviously still be hurting from the negatives as well. We have to get a result, it's as simple as that, and for us that's the sole focus of the group at the minute. We've had 24 hours after the game to digest what happened, the mistakes which were made, and obviously that's in front of the goal and us defending as well. So yeah, I'm sure you'll see a big reaction and players who are hungry to win the game and obviously do it for everyone in Scotland.
Let's just get a flavour for the atmosphere in London. James is with us. He's a Scotland fan, a member of the Tartan Army. James, hiya.
Hiya, how you doing?
Yeah, very good. Oh, it sounds quite quiet where you are. For some reason, I had an image of you kind of in the middle of Trafalgar Square on your mobile phone.
Not tonight. I'm back at the hotel now. It's been a long day, so I'm needing to rest up for a big day tomorrow.
Very good point.
Well, you should still be out.
Yeah, well, it has been a long day, and I'm, in case I get a late call up, I'm fit and ready.
What's it like down there then?
It's been really good. It's, I think folk kind of know what to expect when it comes to the Tartan Army, but I got on a train up at Kirkcaldy at 10 to 7 in the morning, and from the word go, the station was packed, and the atmosphere was really good going through in a train. And the videos online we've been seeing on there was a flight where they were singing "Yes Sir I Can Boogie," and it seemed looking really good. And then I've seen other ones folk doing conga lines down trains. So it's been quality, but I guess folk know what to expect when it comes to the Tartan Army. They sort of bring that really good atmosphere.
How are you actually feeling?
After Monday, I wasn't actually. Obviously, I was disappointed with the result, but I didn't think we played that badly on a whole. I know there's been a bit of criticism on that front, but if we had chances and if they'd gone in at sort of important points during the game, would have maybe it would have turned the game completely. There was a couple just for that sheet goal, which was a bit of a sucker punch. But on the whole, I think if we'd got one goal, we'd have got two, and I don't think anyone would have been talking about the performance as such and giving it as sort of talking it down as much as they have been. But in terms of, obviously, with England, you got the derby element. So even though they're a pot one team, I think it kind of brings them down a little bit closer to our level, and then sort of rises us up closer to theirs, just because, it's got the rivalry, and it I think it just gives us a little bit more of an edge. My heart says that I'll win, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, a draw wouldn't be the end of the world, as it would still give us a fighting chance of getting out of the group going into our final match with Croatia.
So Erin has already made us feel all very old by telling us she's got no memory at all of Euro 96. I think, James, listening to your voice, you might be about to do the same thing.
Yeah. I'm 23 going on 24, so I was 11 months old when the World Cup in '98 came around. The only story I've got about it is I was my mum and dad had taken me to the pub with them when they went to watch the game, and I had to be taken outside when John Collins scored the penalty against Brazil because I started crying. So that's the only sort of tale I've got about watching Scotland at a major tournament. But Monday was, even though despite the result, it didn't really take the shine off the day as such. It was quite an emotional experience to be back in the stadium. Not just to watch Scotland at major finals, but it's been almost a year and a half since I've actually been in a stadium at all to watch a football game. So that was good on that front. But I know as soon as I wake up tomorrow, it's got potential to be one of the sort of biggest, even one of the biggest days of my life. If we get a result, it'll be one of these things I'm telling my grandkids about, I guess. So I'm so excited for it. It's been, as soon as I knew we made it through the playoffs, and that we obviously knew we had England because it was the Glasgow-London pairing in Group D. I've had it circled in the calendar for months.
So you're 98. Erin, you're 98 as well, aren't you?
Yeah, 98.
Wow. So
it makes me feel so old.
That was my favourite bit, actually, Erin, was that Alan, when he heard James was 23, it was like he was talking to an alien. He was
just it's amazing how time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
84, me.
Game recognises game, Alan, come on.
So the question basically for you guys is not like, where were you when Scotland were last in a major tournament? It's where were you told you were, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I don't know the name of the pub, but that's first told I was, and obviously I wasn't happy when the goal went in, but...
James, thank you very much for coming on. Enjoy your early night, and fair play to you for doing that. That just shows how big a game it is, I guess.
Right, yeah, no, thanks very much for having me on. It should be a good one.
Top man, James, who's a member of the Tartan Army. Now, despite Erin and Alan's best efforts to cut Rob Green off, we are going to talk a little bit of England now, and we're going to do that, first of all, by hearing from the England captain, because Harry Kane has been speaking to our correspondent, John Murray.
So, with England-Scotland matches, are these matches that you do set apart? Are there things that happen? Is the experience of being involved in them different to other matches you might play in?
I'm not too sure. Obviously, I've not played Scotland that many times. I guess home nation games, there's always maybe a bit more build-up around the occasion and obviously the fans and things like that. And obviously, this is, I think, the second time we've played Scotland in a major tournament. And obviously the first time we did was a great occasion for us and our supporters. So, yeah, I mean, from our point of view, we just have to focus on it being our second group game and trying to focus on ourselves and don't get too carried away with the whole surrounding. We know hopefully what we have to do and have to approach the game, and we'll do our best to do that tomorrow night.
As you say, though, in 2017, you were England captain for the first time in that match against Scotland. How would you say that you have evolved as a captain since then?
Yeah, I guess you get more experience, you get an understanding of how to approach players or get to know players differently. I've always been someone as a captain, I guess, who wants to lead by example, whether that's on the training pitch or away from the training pitch, around the hotels and things like that. But I guess as I've learned, as I've been captain for longer, it's just to get to know all the players a bit more, get to know them on a personal level a bit more, and because everyone's different, everyone has a different way of getting motivated. And from not just my point of view, but obviously the more experienced and leaders in the team have to try and use that to our advantage. So yeah, it's been obviously a huge honour being England captain, and I'm loving every minute of it.
And when you talk about Sunday as not your worst game, not your best game for England, does the experience that you have help you to, I guess, deal with it?
Yeah, I think I've always been a player. I've said many times, I never get too high or too low. Football's a game that can change really quickly. There's some days, especially as a striker, when everything's falling at your feet and you're banging goals in left, right and centre. And then there's some periods where it just don't quite go your way. And that's part and parcel of being a professional footballer. So like I say, I'm calm and I know what my role is and my job is for this team to try and help this team go as far as possible in the tournament. So, like I said, whether I'm scoring or not scoring, I always feel like I'm contributing to the team on or off the ball, and that's what I'll continue to do.
England captain Harry Kane. I was just thinking, Rob, listening to him, that if we go back to 2018, Maguire and Stones and a couple of others, they got a bit of attention, but it was all about Harry Kane. It was all about Harry Kane. I can't actually remember talking about him that much so far.
I think also as well, his role's changed, hasn't it? The way that he plays for England, and even yes, he didn't get any of the attention for the goal that he scored at the weekend, but he vacated that space and dragged players away. So, he's still he's still a fantastic player. We've just seen him. He's top scorer in the Premier League and top assists in a team that finished not in the top six. So it's one that he'll look at, and he'll. One quiet game in a game that they won, which you knew was going to be a tight game, was something that is a far cry from the games in the World Cup from a few years ago now. But you know what? He'll still be that first name on the team sheet.
Forward to forward, Erin, what do you most admire about Harry Kane?
I think he just knows where the goal is without even looking. His sort of range of where the goal is, when the ball's sort of across on the wide area, he knows how to run between defenders without them actually, they're still watching the ball, and he's already slipped round the back of them and has nodded one in. So he knows where the goal is, he knows how to score. And I think the difference between good strikers and top strikers, when you saw Lyndon Dijk miss a few chances, Harry Kane puts them away. And I think that's the difference at the top level. You're not going to get the same chances you get at your club at international level. You have to put them away, and that's what Harry Kane does.
Got a little something for you, Alan, just before we go.
Oh, don't start.
What? What?
You're always up to something.
Me?
What is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I am. So, Jack Grealish spoke to our England reporter, Emma Saunders. This is just like a little short clip, but you actually came up in conversation.
We've had a group chat for a while, just a few of the lads, that was at Villa. I think there's
Who else is in
six
it?
of us, is there? Me, Mika, Alan Hutton, Henry Lansbury, John McGinn.
So, John McGinn and Jack Grealish are in the same WhatsApp group, and you are in it too.
Yeah, of course, but we're good friends from Villa, so we obviously always keep in touch. So the banter normally flies between us all, and we just have a good laugh with it. But the thing is, if you let that run on a little bit, you've obviously cut some out again. Mark Bunn, that used to play with Villa, he was in it, and you've cut him out again. That was what the whole joke was about, and you've done it twice. Not only the first time, you've done it again. So it's not me. You're killing him again. Brilliant.
What we want to know is what's the patter been like between them in the last couple of days? Take us in the WhatsApp group. Come on.
Oh, come on. Look at you, want me to give away secrets and all this.
I knew you'd do that.
The WhatsApp group you don't talk about, that's the rule. No, see, to be fair, look, we have great banter.
Yeah.
I'm always firing in the Braveheart gifs and all that, just giving it the big licks with the Scotland flags and everything. But to be fair, the two boys, John McGinn and Jack, they've kind of mellowed a little bit. Obviously, it's starting to become serious time, isn't it? So the chat and that's it's eased off. It's becoming, right, the game's tomorrow, serious time. So that's fair play. You just need to let them get on with it.
Do you know, it's so funny you say that, because Karen Carney said on 5 Live earlier today that you've been talking about England versus Scotland for about 6 months.
Probably 6 years, to be honest. I actually remember, I get bantered all the time, England, Scotland. It's such a thing. I hate being like the only one in my team now that's Scottish. It's a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, because nobody can back me up. But I remember Beth England, when we played Serbia, she was writing jokes, you know, when Serbia scored their equaliser in the playoff, and I ended up having the last laugh on that one, but I'm sure there's definitely going to be a bit of banter flying tomorrow. I just hope I'm on the right end of it.
By the way, like, you're wearing a Scotland shirt today, so how many Scotland shirts have you got? Do you need another one for tomorrow?
Oh yeah, I've got another 2 coming in the post. I like the retro ones as well, but I don't really want to be...
About the retro.
Aye, that's it. You don't really want to be rocking into London. I've got my name on the back of it. I look too keen doing that.
I love the idea of Rob Green with Green 1 on the back wandering into Wembley.
Can you imagine? That'd be class. That'd be amazing. I'd love to see that.
Nick 5 minutes at the end. No, I've got my New Order England shirt, nice. the away strip from Italia 90, ready for wearing.
Beautiful. Well, I can't wait. It's going to be great. It's live on 5 Live. Kicks off at 8 o'clock. Erin, Alan, Rob, thank you very much, guys. Speak to you all soon.
Cheers, Steve.
Speak soon. Come on to Scotland.
Thank you. Come on.
Right, we're going to leave it there. Massive thank you to everyone who's been involved. Erin Cuthbert, Alan Hutton, Micah Richards, Jack Wilshere, Rob Green, John Murray, James, the Scotland fan who was with us as well. 8 p.m, England versus Scotland at Euro 2020. Normally we reflect on a load of results, but this is too big to do that. But just in case you don't know, Ukraine beat North Macedonia 2-1. Denmark lost 2-1 to Belgium, who are going through to the last 16. And the Netherlands have booked their place by winning their group after a 2-0 win over Austria. Thanks very much for listening.
A huge summer of live cricket is upon us, and the Test Match Special podcast brings you the best insight and analysis from the TMS team.
That first over was incredible. That has been a 10 out of 10 performance.
With previews and reaction from the biggest games from international Test Series, One Day and T20 matchups, the 100 and County Championship cricket. Plus, there's exclusive interviews with the biggest names in the game.
Get the opportunity to play for England, to play Test cricket, to be walking out, Kevin Pearson stood at the other end. I just couldn't stop smiling.
The Test Match Special podcast. Listen on the BBC Sounds app.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Crafted in the heart of Germany's Black Forest, Monkey 47 Gin is a favorite among the world's finest bartenders. With an unmatched array of botanicals from juniper and lavender to hand-peeled citrus fruit and lingonberry, it's the perfect spirit for any cocktail. And now get $5 off your first order of Monkey 47 on Drizzly.com using the promo code GIN47. That's DRIZLY.com. Must be 21 and older, valid for new customers only, void where prohibited. Monkey 47. Certainly German and certainly wunderbar.